Hello. Uh, Good evening. Al here, and I'm going to talk about. I tried to do some more live streams toward the end of 2022, but uh, I got delayed. I had some stuff to do a lot, and it took up a lot of time. I also had to um um and I also need to do a video of my favorite books of 2022. I read 40 books, but this is going to be about Pope Benedict the 16th, Pope Emeritus Benedict, who passed. I'm just going to share this on Twitter. I don't have a lot, but I'm just going to indicate that I'm live here. Tweet. Okay. All right. So the passing of Pope Benedict the 16th. All right. Um, when I was growing up, I was born in 1986. Now you know how old I am. I was born in 86. Um, so I start university in September 2004 when I'm 18. Then, toward the end of my first year of university, and this is when I'm starting to just get into my faith. I don't know a lot at this point, but um, just at the end of university, or at the start, sorry, at the end of the first year of university, Pope Benedict, or sorry, Pope John Paul II dies in April. And this was odd because I'd been told there have been popes for 2,000 years. It's like, well, I've only ever known one. I do got to admit, Father James, I was encouraged by your thing, by your thing on Pope Benedict the 16th. So I'm like, I better get mine because I still have recap from 2022 going on. So go check out Father James's channel. He did a, a video. So I'm in my first year. Pope John Paul II dies, and again, this was the only pope I had known. Kind of like as a member of the Commonwealth, Queen Elizabeth II was the only queen I had known, and until September. So that was odd. It was kind of similar in that regard. So I'd been taught there had been popes for 2,000 years. So I'm like, well, I've only ever known one. But then they elected a new one. And a few days before Pope Benedict got elected, or Cardinal Ratzinger at the time, he was the favorite in the runnings to be Pope. He was the favorite. Now, they kept saying the favorite doesn't win. Well, the favorite one. I remember exactly where I was in the engineering building at the University of Alberta. Got a call from my dad. Yo, Alan, they got a pope. I'm like, is it Ratzinger? He's like, yep. So yeah, he became Pope Benedict the 16th. And a thing I like about what he did. So he was the Pope. I was 18 at the time. He's kind of the Pope that leads me into the adult life, into my adult life. Pope John Paul II was my childhood. Pope Benedict was the first stage of my adulthood. And then so Pope Benedict had a lot of books, and I think most people saw his papacy as a continuation of John Paul II's papacy. And then, as far as I know, he was always the Pope. And then I had moved down to Calgary in 2012, and on a February morning, uh, on a February morning, I'm driving into the parkade for work. I get a text from my mom. I guess I had an older phone at the time. Yo, Alan, Pope Benedict has resigned. So I go to my office. I start Googling. I'm like, what? This never happens, you know? And now I think Pope Benedict. Now, apparently, there's a rumor. See, I don't want to make this about Pope Francis because I could do another video on him. So, Pope Benedict, he dies or he resigns, and of course, I got the same mom who texted me saying he had resigned. Texted me the morning of the 31st, saying Pope Benedict has died. In fact, I had a baptism to go to that day at the local SXPX chapel, and lot of them had not even known about it yet. My friend, it's like, oh, does anyone have any updates on the Pope? It's like, he died. So yeah, so my thoughts about his papacy. I'll just be honest. The thing I liked about him is he never. Well, there's the occasional thing, but for the most part, he didn't embarrass the office. Kind of like Queen Elizabeth II carried the office with dignity, and really didn't, uh, yeah, didn't embarrass the office in any way. So Pope Francis gets elected, and it seems every week he's saying something ridiculous. I know the media blows things up sometimes, and sometimes it was largely overblown, but sometimes it was not overblown. And so I'm like, oh man, this is frustrating. So I guess the big difference between Pope Benedict's papacy and Pope Francis's papacy is uh, Pope Benedict was just going along with the flow, whereas Francis is like kind of a kid in a candy shop. Now, I do believe that Pope Benedict, prior to his resignation, uh, tried to secure that there would not be a rank liberal in the papal office. Now, I think the one he was most concerned about was Cardinal Casper. And Cardinal Casper, uh, Pope Benedict officially he announced on February 11th that he was going to be vacating the papacy, I believe, on February 28th. And Cardinal Marx, the first thing I did, when I found out that Pope Benedict had resigned, I went to check how old Cardinal Casper was. I'm like, please no. And then I noticed it that day. I'm the only one who's ever pointed this out, and I've listened to all the people that he resigned on the 28th of February, and Casper's 80th birthday is on I believe it's March 5th or 7th. Walter Casper, March 5th, 1933. So he turned 80 a couple days after Benedict died, before the conclave. So he couldn't have been Pope. So I think he was most concerned about Cardinal Casper. And Casper didn't become Pope, but we got Francis. So and I think Pope Benedict saw a rupture with Vatican II and the pre-conciliar church, but the problem was he kind of saw that there was a rupture. Now, I don't think he intended this to happen. Everyone went into that council optimistic. We're going to evangelize the world. The Protestants are going to fold into us. The Orthodox will fold into us, and we'll evangelize the world. Yay! It didn't happen. So what happened? And he could notice everything. He didn't think it was because of uh, the Vatican II documents. I personally don't think so either, because I actually don't think Vatican II has been implemented. And I don't think it ever will. Something else is being implemented now that calls itself Vatican II. It's not, though. Anyway, I'm getting off topic here. So he saw a big rupture, and to try to do something about it, he could try to fix it on his own, but he was old and not too interested in the office. What is why he resigned. So he gave us some more pontificate. Look, anyone can say the Latin Mass. The treasures of old are just as alive as they were pre-Vatican II. And I think, this is my theory here. I think Pope Francis was trying to wait until Pope Benedict died, uh, to to quash the Latin Mass. I don't think he wanted Pope Benedict to see that, but Pope Benedict just kept living on, living on, living on, and Francis is not in great health either. So he's like, "Look, I got to get this done." Um, so yeah, and so so yeah, I think that was I think some more pontificum was Pope Pope Benedict's attempt of putting a band-aid over the wound of the r- rupture. Um, and I think it had some success, small amount of success, not a huge amount, some. And of course, the toothpaste is out of the bottle, so Pope Francis is trying to quash it now, but we've had a taste of it. We've had a taste. Growing up, I never had a taste, so I didn't know what I was missing. Now, keep in mind, I don't always go to Latin Mass, but it is absolutely beautiful. I have tasted the beauty of the Latin Mass, and it's we will crush modernism in the end, and Pope Benedict Summorum Pontificum will have been a part of that. All right, now if I was going to grade his papacy a letter grade, like a report card, excluding the resignation, I give him a C plus. C plus. If you include the resignation, he gets an F. I'll tell you why, because he had no business resigning that office. No one resigns that office, and it's not like he got in like a car accident and became a quadriplegic. Okay, then we could probably forgive that. But what happened? Take a look at John Paul II. He held out to the bitter end, and he was in very bad shape. John Paul II, with Parkinson's and all that stuff. Pope Leo the 13th was 94 or something like that. He died in 1903. Yeah, so that is what we need. Um, okay. He had a lot of the bad qualities that John Paul II did. He prayed in a mosque, prayed in a synagogue. He had more Assisi meetings. He was not that conservative. He was kind of like a moderate conservative, kind of like Archbishop Gomez of Los Angeles, moderately conservative. He's, if you got the center, this is pure modernist, this is pure traditionalism. He's in the center, a tilting a bit this way. And I know he's from Germany, so he grew up with a lot of the liberal Bible scholarship. I have read like 10 of his books, and they're not that good. I'm sorry. I'm not saying that there's no good insights there, but I tried to reread a book of his lately, Principles on Catholic Theology. I had to stop 2 pages in because of the liberalism that just reeked on every page. That was written, I think, around 1980. It just it felt it felt like a lot of sophistry. Anyway, allow me to wrap up. So he was the Pope at the time I started to get into my faith, and I think he with some more pontificum, although it's been since annulled, he has given us the tools, the youth, uh, like pretty much all the young people today are either who go to church or Latin Mass or conservative Novus Ordo. There's no people with who believe like Pope Francis does and who go into the priesthood. None. Interesting. Found to be much better theologian than most of the BOR. Can you elaborate on what's that? The Pittsburgh Rome. Um, in the 20th century at least. Um, no, I'd say that all the pre-Vatican II popes are better than him, no question. Pius the 12th, 11th, Benedict the 15th, Pius the 10th, Leo the 13th. Okay, but I don't think he was better than John 23rd. He was probably, I kind of want to compare him to Paul the Sixth, but Paul the Sixth and him lived in a very different time. So it's hard to like they dealt with completely different issues. Um oh, I know. Yeah, I know. Um I'm trying to compare Pope Benedict the 16th to Paul the Sixth, but I think that's even hard. I put Benedict the 16th a tie with John Paul II. Again, exclude it. That's not if you include the resignation. Personally, I don't even want Pope Francis to resign. I don't even want that. I want him to do what Pope Benedict should have done. Just be Pope till the day you die, and then the church will elect someone else. It's not that hard, especially since his predecessor, like was like his last couple years, he didn't look well. John Paul II did not look well in his last year. So my overall, again, he's the Pope when I started to get to know my faith. Um, yeah, yeah, probably, probably, yep. But um, I lost my train of thought. Pope. So so again, I thought he saw some things and he tried to do something about them, and he was partially successful. Um, okay. Do you think, oh, Father James is going to like this one. Do you think Anglicanorum Cotebus, which started the Ordinariate, will also be part of Benedict's lasting legacy alongside Summorum in the realm of restoring the liturgy? Well, I suppose to a small extent, but the thing about that is there's a lot more Latin masses out there, including post Traditionis Custodes, than there are Anglican Ordinariate churches. Like, there's actually an Anglican Ordinariate church in my city. It's not that far from where I live. I could even walk there if I had about half an hour. Um, uh, and I've been there a few times, and it's no, I go there. It's not bad, but um, I think that's a very small scale. Like if I don't know how many I'd like to see if someone has a website that shows how many Ordinariate parishes there are. I don't think there's a lot in Canada. Then again, I think there are more Latin masses. He'll be more remembered for Summorum. All right, Alan, sort of random cue, but I have a stutter as well. Yay, I stutter too. Since you're older than me, what's your advice on having more confidence with the stutter? Love the channel. I just try to ignore it, to be honest, because when I don't think about it, like right now, I talk normally. So just ignore it. Yeah, I thought you would say that. So yeah, but I think Father James um saying including what Jared was talking about, I don't think like I don't think like that overall. I don't think there are a lot of Anglican Ordinariate parishes out there. I could be wrong. I don't know. There could be more in the States, but I talk to a lot of people, mostly go to, and most of the Anglican converts I know go to either Latin Mass or the Novus Ordo. I guess if you're in a church that converts, because they tend to convert in churches, um, That's the one close to my house. That's how that's how it did. The whole church converted over, including a couple priests. And then they were eventually just shuffled into the diocese. Yeah. Um, I met I've met a couple of their priests. They seem like nice people. There's one that's about 7 feet tall, and there's another one who um you mind sharing what state you're in if you're okay with sharing that information? I'm just curious, not trying to dox you or anything, but like I just want to know because there's some states that have a lot of Catholics in it, some that don't have as much. Like for example, if there's l- no Anglican ordinariate in Arkansas, well, that's understandable because only about 2% of the state is Catholic. So I don't know how many Catholics there are in Virginia. I think there's actually quite a few Catholics there. Yeah, again, I do think in Virginia the Latin Mass was actually quite successful too. So I think most trad leaning Catholics go to that. Could the future of the ordinariate possible? I'm not an expert in the ordinariate, guys. I'm not an expert in that. I just know Anglicanorum Codibus was promulgated by Pope Benedict, and it's had some success, I guess. I don't know a lot about this. I don't. If you want, go ask Father James. I know he does not like the ordinariate, so expect a bias. But um, he okay, Jared. But he knows a lot more about than I do. He probably knows where most of the parishes are, where the successful parishes are, where the non-successful ones are. I don't know. He might not know that, but he would know that before I knew that because he talks about how he had people who tried to go and it didn't work out. And anyway, uh, one of the most trad in country per parish and priest. Um, I'm curious if you don't mind, City of the Immaculata. If you're on Twitter, can you send me a DM? I have to ask you something, but it's a bit. It's not the kind of thing you want me asking here. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. But because I know there's see that's the thing. I think the most again off topic. Pope Benedict. What's the legacy of Benedict 16th? I'd give him a C plus. He tried to, of course, if you include the resignation, he gets an F. That's an automatic F. Pope Francis gets an F, and he didn't even have to resign. So I mean, yeah, that's my ranking. I'd give John Paul II also a C plus. Paul VI probably a C plus too. No, yeah, C plus. I mean, it's hard to get better for that. Pope Francis is a clear F because he is just see. I think I should do a whole video on this, but what's the worst thing about Pope Francis's pontificate? Hey guys, I want you to take a guess. What do you think is the worst thing about the pontificate of Pope Francis? Just put it in the comments. I'm not going to answer you because I'm going to do a whole stream on that. Let me give you a hint. It's not that he stacked the College of Cardinals with liberals. My friend was so concerned. That is actually the worst thing. Actually, idolatry in the house of God, the Vatican, absolutely sickening. But but that's not a lasting thing. Like Pachamama came and went; it's gone. The That's not going to last. Now, I lost my train of thought. Okay, get back. I'll tell you why the College of Cardinals is not the worst thing. Because him stacking the College of Cardinals is that bad? Sure, but it's not the worst thing. My friend's like, oh, Alan, it's so scary. Like all the John Paul II and B16 cardinals are dying off. I'm like, well, why do you put your faith in them? They're the ones who gave us Francis. I mean, the JP2 B16 cardinals aren't exactly our friends either. And keep in mind, there's been some good cardinals under Francis. Cardinal Mueller, who made him cardinal? Francis. Anyway, I think I'm going to do a whole stream on the worst thing about the Francis pontificate. Keep in mind, it's not even about Pope Francis. It's about him, but it's not primarily about him. It's about his pontificate. And it's not even suppressing the Latin Mass. Keep in mind, it's not suppressed. It's only restricted. I personally don't think he's as bad as it's made out. Worse would probably be his misreading, mishandling of the American trad movement. I think you're talking about Francis. Well, he certainly got the trad thing wrong. Okay, we're not going to talk anymore about Francis. This is a Benedict the 16th. We're going to cut this off at 30 minutes. Okay. Last thoughts about Pope Benedict. I grew up with him in 2006, actually. I forgot to add this. I went to Rome. I've only been to Rome once. And at that time, I was more concerned about angels and demons. I'd have my book, it's a secret Masonic symbol. And yeah. So, and of course, Pope Benedict at that time was still fairly new at the Vatican. And I go to the gift shop at the Vatican and I'm trying to find a souvenir. So I'm trying to find a rosary. There's all these cases of rosaries. There's ones that have John Paul II on because he had only recently died about a year prior. Ones with Pope Benedict on. And I found one with Pope John Paul II giving Cardinal Ratzinger at the time a blessing. And I still got that rosary to this day. So yeah, no, I'm gonna miss Pope Benedict. He was not horrible, except for the resignation. And by the way, his resignation is bad, not because a crappy pope replaced him. His resignation is bad because you're not supposed to do that. Which cardinal do you think would be the most natural successor to Benedict once? Okay, all right. I got a prediction. What's going to happen. There's a lot of cardinals out there who don't like Francis who are being quiet. They're trying to just pass the time and wait for the conclave. So I think what's going to happen is, okay, Pope Francis dies, say, in 2025. I'm just throwing out dates. Then they have the conclave. Now, a block of cardinals is going to want Francis 2.0, being someone who's just as it's not even the fact that he's a liberal is the worst thing about Francis. Again, sorry, I don't want to get. I'll do a whole video on that. Say it's 2025. Francis dies. Conclave. A block is going to want Francis 2.0. And then you're going to have a block that's going to be holding out saying, no way. Because keep in mind, you have to have 2/3 of the vote. So there's going to be two big parties and few people in between. And then so a compromise candidate is going to come forward. And I predict they will pick someone, it's my prediction, from the third world, like probably Africa or the Philippines or something like that. Or South America, maybe. So that'll happen. And then he's going to come in. He's not going to be as liberal as Francis, but he is not going to be able to control the liberalism that Francis did not suppress. Because the worst thing about Francis is he's allowing for you to speak your mind about anything with no consequences. And the task of the next pope is to put the lid on that. Now, this will naturally die as more and more modernists die off. The modernists are not young. Like if you go to the people in the people getting ordained priests today, and the people who are starting to become bishops, like the Bishop of Cincinnati, I think it was Cincinnati, that they're hardcore. They're either they're like conservative Novus Ordo, or vocations is Latin Mass. And the problem, so it's basically and the modernists know this, and what we need to do is run out the clock. But as soon as Pope Francis dies, these people are going to keep chirping. So the next pope just has to hold the ground until all the modernists die off. Because again, no modernists our age are going into the church, especially not into the priesthood. And I got modernists who admit this. Father Thomas Rees, a Jesuit, rank modernist, hates the Latin Mass. He's a good guy to read because, I'll tell you why. He's a good guy to read because he speaks his mind. He hates my side, but he's honest with the facts. Thomas Rees, Reece. He basically says what they're all thinking. So and he knows, actually he actually had the same, well, forget about him, but I'm going to say something. When in 2021, when Francis implements Traditionis Custodes, yep, no, it's only a matter of time. They know that, yes, they hold the positions of power, but there are no reinforcements. What was I going to say? Yeah, when Francis had uh, implemented Traditionis Custodes, crushing some of the only good work Pope Benedict did, yes, that was a day to mourn. Oh, it was so sad. But then the next day, or the next week, we just got back to work. We're still trying to spread the Latin Mass. Yeah, they're slightly less available now, but we are, and I heard the team from Mass of the Ages, their goal is to double the size of the Latin Masses. They don't give up. That's what we are. We don't give up, and we will continue fighting for the faith that Christ established, and we will crush the modernists. It's going to be good, and it's not going to be that far off. But and our bishop just made the most traditional priest in our diocese director of vocations. It's a bit of a silent coup. Oh no, the future is bright, and it's not even that far off. It's not even that far off. But we just need to wait for the boomers to die off, because in society the boomers are retired, but in the church you get to 65, you're just getting into the top echelons of power. You're not retiring. Well, some do retire, but some go to the top echelons of power. So anyway, yeah, so Pope Benedict, he was the pope of my early adulthood, the pope under who I got to know and love the faith. He didn't embarrass the office too much. obviously his biggest mistake was his stupid resignation. Tried to avoid that with Cardinal Casper. Yeah, he dodged a bullet there, but we got someone who's just as bad, if not worse. Anyway, but he's not going to be around forever, and the modernists won't be around forever, and they know that. Like, look at this. The most traditional priest in our diocese, director of vocation, silent coup. No, there are so many good things going on in the church right now. That's what makes me happy. The future is tradition. Well, I'll say one thing: it's not modernist. What will become of the benefit? Like Patrick Coffin. Patrick Coffin. Remember when Patrick Coffin was? He's so anti SXPX. And like, I'm not a huge fan of the SXPX. I'm kind of neutral toward them. I don't attend their chapels. I attend other churches. I'm neutral toward them. And even I know that his position is way more absurd. Patrick Coffin. Yeah, that guy's got issues. And all the Benevicantists. I thought maybe about Oh, well, Mike, I wish you the best of I do wish you the best of intentions. I got a question. Are you going into a trad seminary or a diocesan seminary, if you don't mind sharing? I'm interested. If so, you don't have to say what seminary it is, but so I'm going to do another video in a couple days, possibly even tomorrow, about my favorite books I read in Holy Apostles Seminary. I'm unfamiliar. Let me just look it up. Holy Apostles Seminary. Interesting. All right. I wish you the best of luck, brother. God bless. I still got to pray my rosary. I'll pray for you. Mike, everyone pray for Mike. Go into the priesthood. And I'm also going to give a video of my favorite books of 2022. I read 40 books in 2022. Some really stood out. Some were not as good. I read some Star Wars books because Father James, we had done a thing a while back. Father James and I. And we're Mike. I question for you. Is there any videos you'd like me to do a stream on? Last year, I'm going to do. I like and yeah. So comment. I want everyone to write in the comments section, not the live chat. I want everyone to give Francis a letter grade. But you can do this. Pope Benedict, not Francis. The thing I did. So put give his great r- resignation. Other than I planned on it. Thanks for you later. God bless. Pray the rose.